beat, turtle, beat, turtle, beat, turtle, beat, turtle, beat, turtle, I like turtle. I like turtle. I like turtle. I like turtle.
All right, what's up, Turtle Riders? How are y'all doing out there tonight? I've gone ahead, guys, and I've shared this link on the Clarence Woods Emerson page as well as the Turtleboy Sports Forever page. So if you guys could do me a favor, go ahead out there, give that a little share for me. That'd be great. We got a good show tonight, as we do every night. And just a reminder, guys, that we are demonetized permanently, or I don't know, permanently, by Google and the tech gods. So we are completely dependent now. If you'd like to donate to the turtle cause, I'm going to post the fundraiser link right there. Boom, in the comments. If you want to donate to that, I will periodically refresh that throughout the show. And if you put a funny comment in there, I will read it no matter how raunchy it is, I promise. All right. So, yeah. Any questions? Cool. All right. So with us tonight, so I have a little something different tonight. I'm going to have two candidates for Congress on here today. Massachusetts has not had a Republican congressman since 1996, since I was a young lad. Peter Bluty actually came from my district, the Worcester district. He lost to Jim McGovern in 1996, and they've never looked back. And so how this works, we got 9 congressional districts in this state, 9. And not one of them, I mean, even California's got Republican congressmen. You name, I mean, the most liberals, we're one of the only big states in the country that literally has no diversity whatsoever. So we got a couple of people on who are trying to change that tonight. And they are John Paul Moran. He's challenging Seth Moulton in the 6th congressional district. And Tracy Lovvorn, who's challenging Jim McGovern in the 2nd congressional district. She actually ran 2 years ago. She's giving another shot at you. So I'm going to bring them both in right now to join us. Let me figure this out. All right. Boom. There's John. How you doing, John Paul?
Good, Aidan. How are you, man?
Good, thanks. And here's Tracy. How you doing, Tracy?
Real good. Thanks for having us, Aidan.
All right, thanks for coming on. So, reason I want to have you guys on, I was watching Tucker Carlson last night. You guys fans?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tucker's great. And Tucker had on this gentleman from Indiana. He's a senator named Mike Braun. He's a first-term senator. He actually took out a Democrat in 2018. Thanks, because the guy he took out actually voted against Kavanaugh, and that killed his reelection chances. Because that's a red state. It's one of the redder states in the country. And for some reason, he's decided to kind of push this bill to, in the name of, Black Lives Matter and all this stuff that's been going on in the news, to push a bill that will end qualified immunity for police officers. You guys familiar with this term?
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds good, doesn't it? Like, when it comes off the tongue, it sounds good, right? Qualified immunity, end it.
It just, the thing is, though, it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. But it seems like with so many other things, instead of just, there is something that can be done. I'm in healthcare. I'm in healthcare, and I liken it to almost like malpractice, with doctors. And
Yeah.
You can't just sue the hospital. There is a little bit of responsibility on the doctor themselves. So I don't know how you can balance that, at least slightly. You know what I mean?
So for those of you unfamiliar with it, right, qualified immunity would mean that cops are no longer, they can be sued personally, civilly, for for instance, if let's say in this Atlanta case, right, the cop down there was arrested for murder, right? And let's suppose he's found not guilty when all this ends. Like OJ was found not guilty for murder.
Right.
OJ in civil court, had to pay up the wazoo to the Goldman family because the bar in civil court is a lot less higher. It's just 51%. Whereas it has to be much greater than that in criminal court. So basically are y'all worried about, Tracy, the fact that cops could potentially be afraid to do their job because they're afraid.
Oh no, completely. Cops will be afraid to do their job, and they'll just have so many cases over and over and over again. It'll deplete the whole department. So you can't just throw it out completely.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But is there a way that we could have some conversations to get something out there so that people are held accountable? And honestly, like with what happened with George Floyd, I don't even think he's as accountable as everybody else. That officer had like 18 violations. That mayor is responsible. Everybody, the chief is responsible. So how do you hold them accountable without penalizing the city?
Well, that's what I'm asking you, because you want to be the elected official. What would you do? Like, what kind of legislation would you put forward to prevent people like Derek Chauvin from remaining on the police department and on the streets?
Well, I mean, we have 3 strikes, you're out for criminals. So could there not be 3 strikes, you're out for cops? Something as simple as that. You know what I mean? Regardless of the level of violation, define it, set it. If it's there, you're done. 3 strikes, you're out. That might be something to look at. When it comes to, being able to sue a cop directly in civil court, they shouldn't be completely protected. There's got to be a way that they should be held at least somehow responsible. Is that in civil suits? And is that in frivolous suits? Frivolous suits will go out the, out the wazoo. It'll be horrible.
But here's
my thing. Have something.
But how is Derek Chauvin not already being held responsible? Like, what good was it a civil lawsuit on top of a murder charge be?
Oh no, I'm talking about 10, 12 years ago. After he had his first 3, he should have been off the force.
Okay, so but you don't think he should be sued personally, do you?
At this point, no. But I don't like the fact that what if somebody does do something egregious? And how are they personally held accountable for that? I don't know. It's almost coming down more through the unions. Maybe the unions need more penalties. Well,
so as a blogger, right? And I had an LLC. If I do something egregious, if I defame someone or libel someone or I injure somebody like that, I don't lose my house over that because the LLC, they're the ones that get sued, not me personally. And it would be the same idea with that. It's like, do you hold the employees of a company, personally responsible? Who would ever want to be an employee in such a dangerous job?
Right. No, I agree. How do you do it though? There's got to. I know in medical healthcare, they have their own liability, insurance. Yeah. So maybe that's the whole new insurance industry for public servicemen.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, make them purchase a small amount of insurance, liability insurance, something like that. I mean, that seems reasonable now.
If that was through their union, and the union doesn't want to have a whole bunch of claims against them, it would increase policing of each other. Yeah. And it would motivate them to help keep each other clean,
Yeah. So tell me, I'm not sure. I guess we lost John Paul. I just texted him, see what he's up to. But so he'll come back. He had spotty service. But so let me ask you. So you ran in 2018, and I think you got what, 31%?
33.
Oh, 33. Okay. And
come on now.
You're going against Jim McGovern, and you have the way the districts are gerrymandered in this state. People act like Republicans are the only ones that gerrymander. Both parties gerrymander. Whoever's in control gerrymanders. And
it's so awful.
Right.
Jim McGovern will be the first one to complain about gerrymandering in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, when they redesigned these districts, we were the 13th most gerrymandered state in the union.
13th, huh? Who's ahead of us?
13th. And right now we're like you were saying, out of 9 congressional members, we're 0 for 9 as a party. Yet there's 30 to 40% of us consistently in every race. That there's 30 to 40% of the population in Massachusetts has absolutely zero representation whatsoever. Out of 9 reps, we should consistently have at least 2 to 3 consistently.
Absolutely.
Yet we haven't had any since it was, like you said, Peter Blute, and that was 1.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you guys a map of the congressional districts in the state, just so people are familiar with what we're talking about. Hold on one second. Bring it up there.
I'm back. Sorry.
All right, it was good. Glad to have you back, John Paul. What's happening?
Sorry about that. We fixed the problem, I think. Sorry.
Good deal. Excellent. So this is let's see, can we see it there? So this is it's kind of not the thing here. Let me find a better one of it. Hold on. So this one right here. So is this an up-to-date one?
Now go over to the one to the right.
This
My
one?
right.
Okay, this one?
Nope.
No.
Well, that'll work. Go to the other side.
Okay, right here.
Run up.
This one.
Yeah, that one or the one, that one.
Okay, cool. Let me bring this up here. This is an up-to-date one. All right. So how this works? So this one, the pink one is Tracy's. That's the one she's going for. And John Paul is going for this one right here, the kind of like teal looking one over here. North Shore, yeah. So as you can see here, like what gerrymandering is, like this green one right here, this is Joe Kennedy's district. It goes all the way up here through Brookline, it starts in, and it goes all the way down to Fall River. What Brookline has in common with Fall River is beyond me. But as you can see here, they've intentionally cut off like some of these purple towns and these pink towns and these gray towns. These are conservative towns. So what they're doing is they're separate. They don't want too many conservative towns in the same state. And you look at Tracy's over here, number 2, like these are some of the most conservative towns in Massachusetts, Charlton, the Brookfield, stuff like that. They have cut them out of District 2 and thrown them into District 1 so that when they do this, it makes it impossible for or not impossible, but like pretty freaking hard, to gain any kind of power.
Have you ever looked at the election map, the presidential election map of 2016?
No, I have. What about in Massachusetts?
Yeah, that one is very striking because what it does is it shows where Hillary Clinton won versus where Trump won versus where Trump barely won and Hillary barely won. So it's dark blue, light blue, pink, and dark pink.
Oh, I got it right here. I'll bring it up right now. Hold on.
And you can really see exactly, how conservative the state actually is.
I think so. Okay. So here is the map. I think this is the map you're talking about. Right? Okay.
Exactly. That's the map right there. So you could see District 2, the whole swath of pink right through the middle of the state.
This is all you. This stuff in here. That's yours.
But the way they cut out, like you said, all that pink down in the corner there, and they made sure to get 2 dark blue cities.
Right. Like, so this area right here, this should really be yours. However, they've taken it and just thrown it over here, and then they added this crap to yours. So they've connected Worcester to Northampton, and that makes it very, very hard to do that. And over here, like these pink ones right here, and they took Joe Kennedy's and they're like, well, let's just connect here to here. And then John Paul's is, it looks like, so John, you have all the way, you don't have, do you have Ipswich? Is that yours? Or is that too far north?
We go all the way to Salisbury Beach.
Okay. So you're all the way up here. You have all this crap. And these, you have Billerica, right? So that's that's one of the few red ones.
That's right.
But it's the only ones. And Saugus
is red. Yeah. And there's a lot of towns that feature in red because I know they're not big fans of Gloucester and other places. They're not fans of Moulton.
You two are realistically you have a better chance of winning than if you did in Ayanna Presley's district, in which you have no chance at all. So how do you get, John Paul, you go first. How the hell are you going to beat Seth Moulton?
Well, I'm going to be an actual person. I'm not going to be I jokingly say, since he probably won't debate me, at least right away, I've got a cardboard cut out. I'm going to put his face on because that's
he won't debate you
and more real than he is.
He won't debate you?
Well, we put the feelers out, and we're not getting response. Probably not until after his primary is over, because he's being primaried by two people. How does that look, right? He's being.
But all the Democrats are getting primaried these days because of AOC and the Justice Democrats. They're all getting it, and it's moving the party further to the left because now they have to keep up with the AOCs of the world.
Yes. So if you look at the issues, and I know, if you look at the facts, the media doesn't care about facts. If they did, then Black Lives Matter and Antifa would have zero support. But, the media isn't they're about emotions over facts. But if you look at the facts and what people really care about, jobs in the economy, I'm a businessman, right? Seth Moulton licks the boots of the Chinese. He doesn't care about, he's not going to help bring jobs back to the district. So, and he never did. So on jobs in the economy, it's a no-brainer. On healthcare, more affordable, market-driven healthcare to drive costs down and bring quality up and give more choice. That should be a no-brainer. And it comes to security. I mean, he calls the police racist, all police racist from Milwaukee to Marblehead, he said last week.
He said that? All the police are racist?
So police forces are racist in every town from Milwaukee to Marblehead. All of these racist police everywhere.
So let me ask you then, have you actively sought the endorsements of police unions in your district then?
Yes, we're getting support, and we expect to get endorsements because I'm on the side of the police. My brother's a police officer. I'm a big, huge supporter of the police and first responders. Up until a month ago, the media news cycle was first responders, police are our best friends. They're putting their lives out in front. Then all of a sudden they found something else politically to use. And all of a sudden police are instantly overnight from our heroes to the devil. It's just, but it's not a winning issue. The vast majority of people in my district and in the state are not for eliminating and defunding our police department like Seth Moulton and all the Democrats want.
Well, he hasn't been on record as wanting to defund it. Like, I think that Jim McGovern and Seth Moultons of the world, everybody, all the congressmen in the state, except for Ayanna Pressley, are politically savvy enough to know that it's not wise to want to defund the police. Right. I mean,
I don't know. He's Jim's like got the endorsement from Ayanna Pressley.
Right. But
and he accepted it.
But
he accepted it.
Well, they are. So
he just follows wherever he goes. And he was the first to come out to abolish ICE. He was in that group back in the day. And he is on the record of saying, they need to have the reform. He wants to demilitarize the police. And I think just by hooking his wagon to Jaya Paul, and with the Progressive Party there in the Democrat Party, they have cried to defund the police, and McGovern is part of that progressive caucus.
Well,
so
how are you going to beat Jim McGovern?
You know what?
I hate Jim McGovern, but he's extremely popular in this district.
He is. People like him. I think we've had an opportunity now last election and this election. Last election, Aidan, half the people I talked to didn't even know who Jim McGovern was, honestly, because when they redesigned the districts, we inherited Jim McGovern, not Worcester, but everywhere west inherited him. He was never elected. I was the first person that ever ran against him in District 2. He was District 3, Worcester out to Fall River.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
so I spent a lot of time. People didn't know if their congressman was it Richie Neal? Is it McGovern? Hey, do I have Kennedy? So I took a ton of time just sharing where your district is, and then we talked about what he accomplished in his first 20 years and how in 20 years he had 8 bills turn into law and 6 of them were naming post offices. And more people are talking now. That helps, just to become more aware. Yeah, and he has this nice guy persona and he wants to feed the world. But honestly, what has he done? And I think there's more conversations about that happening today. I know there are more today than there were, 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, people are asking now about the Worcester to Fall River thing. And that's the other example of gerrymandering, is that prior to the districts, we used to have 10 congressional districts. Our population didn't grow enough, so we're down to 9. So it used to connect. That's what gerrymandering always does. They just connect bookends of cities. And they used to connect Worcester to Fall River, and everything in between was Jim McGovern's district. Now it's Worcester to Northampton, which is probably a little bit more liberal than it was the reverse way. But like, how do you, so I guess it's kind of to both of you guys, like, I like President Trump. I'm sure you guys voted for President Trump. Sure you will again. But the fact of the matter is, this is Massachusetts and he's not popular here. And it is also a presidential election year. So how do you you can either do one of two things, it seems. You can become Charlie Baker and sell out and completely distance yourself from Donald Trump, or you can embrace it, which hurts your chances of winning. How do you deal with the Trump problem, if you will?
Go ahead. So I'm happy to answer that. I don't consider it a problem because you have two choices. You have Biden. Biden. Okay,
Yeah, we know Biden's an idiot, but
you have Trump. So the way what I tell people is first of all, I'm running for Congress. I'm not running for president, and I'm not running for governor. So people keep saying Baker and where you want Baker, where you want Trump. So there's that. I talk about my record and what I'm going to do, but also, yes, I'm going to vote for President Trump. I'm going to explain why. And because I'm supporting Trump doesn't mean that I agree with everything he says and everything he does. I agreed with, there's a number of things I disagree with. And I'm independent so far that I'm so much that I consider myself like an opportunity Republican. I want to rebrand the party, the Grand Opportunity Party. Opportunity is the core of my message. And I believe that's the purpose of government. So I'm going to be focusing on that. And if you're for opportunity, I'm with you. If you're against opportunity, I'm against you. So that's kind of how, I mean, tell me what you think. I mean, that's
but how does that deal with the Trump problem? And so you like, the fact of the matter is we like President Trump. We all agree. This is an echo chamber. We all agree Joe Biden's a freaking moron. No doubt about it. Like he's insane. He's lost his marbles. Completely agreed. Other people in this state don't agree with that though. And you need to get them to vote for you. So how do you do that?
I think one of the things that I would love that I need to try to reach more and more are my true JFK Democrats in this district, the Democrats that were asking what they could do for their country and not what their country can do for you. I think right now with everything going on, when people see, the statue of George Washington with the flag burning on its head and George being crashed to the ground, I think that is enraging people enough to realize that, hey, you know what? Trump's not the one that's doing that. And I know that that's what Jim did to me all last election was Trump, Trump, Trump. And I kept saying, hey, I'm Tracy, I'm not Trump. And that's not enough because you're right. People have a visceral response to this president. Yeah. I'm banking on the fact that they're going to have an even more visceral response to seeing George Washington getting torn down, to seeing the vandalism that's taking place, to seeing that the DNC just tweeted that if we have a 4th of July celebration at Mount Rushmore, it's just a party for white supremacy.
I saw that.
And you know what? They got to realize, and I think more and more, they're realizing that their party doesn't even exist anymore. And one of the things with the Republican Party, we get asked that question all the time. Are you a Trump Republican? Are you a Baker Republican? Are you a Jim Lyons Republican? Are you a Mitt Romney Republican? Well, you know what? That to me is the beauty of the Republican Party, is that we have so many facets and so much individuality in this party, but we're still one party, where that other party that I can't even call it a Democrat party anymore. It's this socialist wannabe Marxism party that they're just lock and step. You can see every communication they do. It's the exact same communication. It flows down from Nancy Pelosi and then it goes out to the minions, and they are lock and step. At least with our party, we have enough diversity that, you know what, it's truly a reflection of America. Yeah. And that's how I see the Republican Party. And I want to invite everybody into this party.
Funny you should mention that. You are a woman in a party that's known for being associated with men. I mean, that's unfortunate. Like I disagree with that. I think that there's plenty of female conservatives, but it gets branded as the party of white men, of white straight men. And John Paul happens to be gay. And so both of you are kind of going against the mold. No?
I say no. We're the party. We're the party of Abby Kelly Foster.
You're redefining. We're
going from the beginning. They stole our party from us. That party switch is a bunch of BS. Ooh. We are the party of abolitionists. We're the party that freed the slaves. We're the party of Abby Kelly Foster there in Worcester, of women's rights, women's suffrage. We're the party of civil rights. We're the party of Martin Luther King, for crying out loud. And they stole that from us. And quite frankly, I want to take it back. And me and John Paul standing right here in front of you, that narrative is out the door. It's ridiculous, that narrative.
And actually, traditionally, clearly, when the Democrat Party, I call them the racist socialist party, because that's what.
I don't think that's going to sell if you do that, though.
It's The JFK Democrats, I'm all for. So I say you have your JFK Democrats that Tracy and I want to attract, but you have your crazy, lunatic people that have taken over the Democrat Party. So I'm not calling all Democrats crazy. I'm talking about the
I am. Okay.
Their party is just left them
hijacked by crazy left-wing Marxists, and that's the problem.
All right, so
everyday Democrats are the problem. It's the people that hijacked their party.
You mentioned the statues. I think that's a winning issue. I do, like, especially the Washington and the Lincoln statues coming down and stuff like that. So is there any like specific kind of legislation that you could propose? Because, like, all right, for instance, Republicans right now, and this is what I'm going to get into in a minute with Tucker, with this guy on last night from Indiana, they're trying to just outdo the Democrats. It seems like it's like, since when did the Republicans become the party of police reform bills? When we're watching this crap on TV and 80% of Americans are watching this and they want the looting and the rioting and the statues coming down to end. I'm not interested in police reform right now. I want the statues to stop coming down. So is there any like legislation that you guys like started with John Paul? Anything? What would you do about that?
I mean, honestly, I don't know how much it is to do with legislation as it is to enforce existing laws. I mean, what Democrat-run cities are doing, and there's some exceptions, but in large part, it's the Democrat-run cities and states. They're letting this looting go on. I mean, we have Seth Moulton calling it a march to freedom, a march for burning and looting, right? And I think my feeling is that the Republicans are so afraid of being called racist. The Republicans in power, not us, not me and Tracy.
They are.
All right. So they didn't want to look like they were going to contradict that. So they let it happen. That's the way I see it. It's not as if it's legal to loot and burn and do what the these protests that turn into, of course, freedom of speech. Free speech is one thing, but so many of these turned into looting and burning and rioting, and now just outright threats. And I think we just need to enforce our existing laws. And I wish the president was tougher, and I wish our Congress that we have, as Tucker Carlson says every night, we thought we elected Republicans for law and order to protect us from this craziness, and we're seeing it happen. They're just kowtowing to it. So I'd say, you know what? It's not racist to say we don't want to stop rioting, burning, and looting, and stop the destruction of our history and our statues that are our history. That's not racist. That's just being a damn American. So I just don't understand why there's not a stronger response from not just the right, but even Democrats. There's some Democrats coming out against it, few. And so I think making more laws. I mean, there's already laws that give you 10 years in jail for destroying statues. And
so let me show you this clip here, because I want this. If you guys get elected, right? If you beat the odds and you get elected, I don't want you to become this guy, because this you're useless as John Roberts.
No, worst nightmare ever.
Yeah, let me play a part. So Mike Braun is from Indiana, and he's pushing and he says, I support that movement because it's addressing an inequity that has not been solved from grassroots. He's talking about Black Lives Matter.
From a grassroots level.
And so Tucker has him on. He's going to ask him a couple questions.
After a segment on Thursday, Senator Braun asked to come on this show to detail his position. Of course, we're happy to have him. Senator Braun, thanks so much for coming on. Before I ask you about qualified immunity and your attempts
to mean all lives don't matter, to what I learned. This was to find that sweet spot to where they said they are being unduly stigmatized because of these events, because in some cases their own aren't held accountable. And when they knew that, they basically said, we need to be in the discussion. Look how we got rolled with Obamacare when we refused.
See, Tucker does the face there, because they talking specifically about why are you proposing, you're a Republican, why are you proposing a police reform bill instead of like a don't tear statues down kind of bill? And the guy just starts ranting about Obamacare. It's like, I'm not here to ask you about that. We've already been over that. That's not the issue people are concerned with right now. And so he asks him a specific question.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. We just showed tape of you, Senator, saying that we need to pull back. We need to make it easier to sue the police because of, quote, egregious incidents like the death of Rayshard Brooks. You said you wanted to speak about specifics. Do you believe that he was killed unjustly? Do you believe Officer Rolfe deserves the death penalty, which he now faces? What did you mean by that, please?
I believe you ought to have the ability to, just like when anyone's civil rights would be violated, that you've got access to due process, to have your case heard.
But they do. But they do have that right. Qualified immunity, hold on. Qualified immunity has nothing to do with that case. He's been charged. They have the right to sue him under qualified immunity, as you know, since you're writing the change to the law. So that's irrelevant. I'm asking about the case. You cited it. Do you believe that the officer now facing the death penalty deserves to face the death penalty? And if you don't, tell us what he should have done.
This is the best part.
I think that's going to be determined by the court. And when it comes
You
to that
cited it. So wait, hold on. You cited it. What do you think of it? You're the one who called it egregious. So why don't you tell us what Officer Ross should have done when this man fired a taser at him?
There you go. What did you do?
I think that you probably should have had the judgment that in a traffic stop like that, you don't shoot somebody in the back.
Oh, my God.
If
so what should be no. I want you to explain. I think it's fair. You're an office holder. I don't normally press people like this, but it's not fair for you to filibuster without answering my question, which is very simple. The officer facing the death penalty had a guy fire a weapon at him. What should he have done then?
Probably not have killed the guy.
What?
And that'll come
So what
out
should he have done?
Court. He should have probably
you're the
not.
one saying it's egregious. Let him go.
Just let him run away.
Do you think he was going to get away?
Yes.
They were going to find him.
You tell me.
He had a taser.
Judging the officer.
Now listen what he says
maybe
about
you
Chuck
could explain
Schumer.
why
This
you're
sums it up right here.
Tucker, that'll all come out in the court process. And all I'm saying, let me finish this. If we don't get better at it, for all of us on Main Street, Democrats are going to spin it. Chuck Schumer's already decided he can make hay of this in the election, and we'll end up on the short side of it again. If you're wanting to say
that sums it up right there. So basically what he's saying there at the end.
He's scared of Chuck Schumer.
He's like basically saying, I'm not going to stand up for this officer. And we could talk about, do you guys both agree with me that murder charge on that officer is egregious?
Oh, it's ridiculous. 100%. Absolutely ridiculous.
Okay. So
if that gentleman, if he was white or any other race, first of all, it wouldn't be on TV. And second of all, it wouldn't be an issue. So it by definition, the Democrats they've always been the racist party, and everything to them is about race. So it's just so bizarre. Mm-hmm. And the guy resisted arrest and then stole the taser and shot him.
He's like a couple times. And like it was like bang bang. Yeah. So we're in agreement with that. And so what this guy's saying now is like, so the Democrats immediately put a bill together and Republicans, we're watching looting and rioting going on. None of that's being addressed. Instead, our party, the people we put, the Mike Brauns of the world out there, they're pushing for just like a condensed version of police reform as if that's going to please anyone. And his reasoning is, well, if we don't do this, Chuck Schumer might say bad things about us, and we can't have that. Well, I got news for you, Mike Braun. Chuck Schumer hates you no matter what you do. No matter what you do, he's going to say negative things about you because Democrats are fighters. Say what you want about them, but every single Democrat in Congress besides Tulsi Gabbard voted to impeach Donald Trump, and we know what they did to her, okay? They threw her out. She's done. Her career's over. And every single Democrat in the Senate voted to not to have Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. That's what they do. They fight and they're a team, and Republicans are filled with cowards like this. Promise me that if either of you gets elected, you won't be like that.
I won't be like that. I know that I hear that all the time. Like, well, you're just going to be like Scott Brown. You're going to do what Scott Brown did with the guns, or you're going to be Charlie Baker.
What do you do with guns?
When he went down there was a bill, and all he just had to stand up for the Second Amendment, and he caved. For the same reason, for the exact same reason, because you feel like you get so much pressure, and if you don't do it, you're going to lose some friends. Look what just happened in Boston with the Boston City Council, where they actually gave the concessions. We're going to take the money and defund the police, but it wasn't enough. And so they went to the city council members' houses and vandalized the houses.
A bunch of
and they came out and they're like, hey, you can't vandalize us. Well, guess what? They will. They will no matter who you are, whether you back down or not. So just don't back down.
God bless you.
When you deal with thugs like this, they only come after you more. And you think people can learn from history, and having no spine never works. I mean, hell hath no fury than a gay man attacked by the left. And I'm telling you, I've had death threats because I happen to be a gay conservative Catholic, and I mean, I've had it with the left, and I'm horrified by how weak. Not all Republicans, but in large part, we're going to lose this election. If there's one reason, if we lose it, it's going to be because the inaction and the ineptitude of the Republicans refusing to stand up because they're afraid. I actually think it's sort of like the battered wife syndrome, the battered spouse syndrome, because it's like The batterer, the terrorizer, is the radical left, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and they're coming after people saying we're going to ruin your career, we're going to call you a racist, we'll ruin your reputation, you won't get elected, you're going to lose your business. And it's like, please, if we elect Democrats, the pain will stop. Please, 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 please. The pain will stop if we elect them. That's what they're going for, is we're going to beat you into submission. And we have to stand up to these people, because if we don't do it, it's going to get worse. The batterer doesn't stop.
I'll tell you one thing. I am very worried right now, very worried the way things are going. I know polls aren't always accurate. If I was a betting man right now, I would bet that Joe Biden wins the election in November and that the Democrats take the Senate. If that happens, I mean, they're gonna pack the Supreme Court. They're gonna end the filibuster. You think it's bad now? How do you feel about
it's over November 4th if we lose this? I thought it was bad in 2016. I think it's going to be non-recoverable, because we're going to have Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Make no mistakes about it. And I will say this: I'm for the concept, obviously, of all Black Lives Matter. To Black Lives Matter, they're profiteering off this. They don't care about Black lives. They care about 0.01% or less of Black lives that are killed by white cops, about 10 or 14 last year, depending what numbers you go by, versus thousands that are black on black deaths. They're just using this for political advantage. And where's all that money going for Black Lives Matter that they're raising? They're going to the Democrat Party and lining people's pockets. It's not going to Black Lives Mattering. It's the opposite. So we have to be very strong and we have to push this message, because if we don't, we're done. And so I believe we need strong leaders like Tracy, and like ideally, don't sell yourself short. I be weak on this. I only know how to be strong on this. We have to be loud and strong on this.
Yeah, Tracy, how do you feel about Trump's odds in November?
You know what? I'm still really, really optimistic. We got a long ways to go. If there's anything that I've learned about POTUS, is that he's usually at least 5 to 10 moves ahead. I think there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of cards that he still has left to play. They came out right now, and you got to remember too, Aidan. We're sitting here in Massachusetts.
We are.
You know, and there's a whole nother world out there. You know, I've had the opportunity. I was born in Southern California. I grew up a lot in Oregon. I've lived in North Carolina, Maryland. I live here. I've had jobs where I've worked across the whole United States. It's a big country out there. And, you know, I got to believe, just like I believed in 2016, I knew that was going to be a complete blowout by Donald Trump. No doubt about it.
Donald Trump was going to win in 2016.
Oh, completely. I did home care. I drove all around Worcester County. I had my bumper sticker, and people would come up to me and say, Tracy, I like your bumper sticker in Massachusetts.
We got to get out of this idea that 2016 was a blowout. It was not. He won by basically 75,000 votes in 3 states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, 75,000 total. If 37,500 of those people switch, it's over. But
they also knew what they were doing. Like you said, you know, they were playing an electoral college game, and it was an electoral college blowout. And so I think we're still okay. I don't know what to anticipate. We still have 4 months left or so of this election. What are they going to do next? Because this has been a nonstop bombardment by this party, and I'm not even going to call it a Democrat party anymore, because it's just not. I don't know what they are, but from the impeachment, you know, with the Russia investigation, what they did to Kavanaugh, it's so easy to forget this stuff because so much has happened. But Russia was a nightmare. There's still Obamagate coming out. That whole FISA warrant is still coming out, and it's being suppressed, but that's a big deal.
People, I got to be honest with you. I don't think people care about that. I don't think people care about FISA. I don't think people care about Obamagate. I mean, Republicans
might not care, but if the law actually ever does come out to make things just, people are going to have to care.
I think the winner is. Go ahead.
I'm more. I mean, I'm hopeful, but I'm not super optimistic. I mean, for my race, it's a different thing, because, you know, there's a lot of negatives on Seth Moulton. I believe there's so many paths to victory for my district. The absent landlord thing he's got going on is not going over well. But when it comes to the overall for Republicans in general and President Trump, if if they don't, I don't want to say we, because I'm going to be as loud as possible, but if there's not much more of an effort to prove that we're for law and order, we're not going to back down like chickens. We're the land of the brave, not the land of the afraid. And it looks like to me, the Republicans are the land of the afraid. They're afraid of their own shadows because of this. And I don't, you can't be afraid of being called a racist by a bunch of Marxist, crazy people that hate America. They have no credibility, Black Lives Matter. That organization. Why we're running scared from them is bizarre to me.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys. So if anybody wants to ask them any questions, feel free to fire away in the comments. I'll read as many as I can as this goes along. But let me just read a couple here that I thought were interesting. Let's see. So is either of you going to get – Seth Moulton's not going to debate you? Is Jim going to debate you?
We debated last time. We had two debates and one back-to-back interview.
Yeah.
So I would imagine. I can't imagine him not.
Yeah.
It'll be after September, though.
Sorry, don't want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I didn't say we're not going to debate. We just haven't gotten it yet. We think it's going to happen. Probably, it's most likely going to happen after the primary, after his primary.
You know what I'm worried about that's hurting Trump, which I don't think is his fault at all. But I think this is the polls are slipping right now, is because fair or not, he's being blamed for the COVID crisis and his handling of it. And I think that the optics of it all, I don't think he did anything necessarily wrong with it, but I just feel like his kind of it's his cavalier attitude. Just it's rubbing people the wrong. Like Andrew Cuomo killed freaking like 5,000 elderly people. We all know that he's got an 80% approval rating. So like the voters aren't smart. And I, fair or not, I feel like the COVID thing has hurt Trump a little. No.
I think just because of it's just pounded into people day after day, what they're seeing in the news and in the media. And if you watch that consistently, it's a whole nother story compared to reality of actually reading the reports and actually looking at the data. Yeah. You know, they come out, even when they come out and say, 120,000 people that have died of COVID, you go in there and you look and they have it all separated out. And you find out on the CDC website, only 6,000 people this year have died of the flu. On any average, it's at least 40 to 60,000 people.
Yeah,
6,000 have died from the flu. So there's so much, but you're right. It takes a lot of thought, and we used to be able to kind of trust our journalists to be able to dig and give us that kind of information, and that's not happening at all. And so it's getting information to people, and it's hard.
But somebody asked me in the comments right now about so this is our first question. The Abraham Lincoln statue in Boston is apparently going to come down. Marty Walsh has said that he wants. You're familiar with the statue, the Emancipation statue?
Yeah.
Yep. There's a duplicate in Washington. The same.
Yes, there is. How do you, John Paul? How do you feel about? I mean, that's not your district, but could you use something like that to run on?
Well, it's here we have a statue that was paid for, at least in Washington, I don't know if it was also in Boston, paid for by freed slaves in gratitude for Republican President Abraham Lincoln fighting the Civil War and ultimately freeing the slaves. Historically, there's nothing racist about that, but that shows you how far the left has gone. I mean, they're taking the man, the most respected president in history, who fought a bloody war to end to end slavery, and they want to take down his statue. I mean, that's just beyond.
We agree that's insane, but how do you get that? Can you run on, like, that's a winning issue? That's my point. Is that like the other party wants to take down Abe Lincoln?
That's right. The other party wants to, all of our President Jefferson, all of our presidents, they're calling them all racist and white supremacists. Yeah. And we just have to turn the tables on that and say, no, they're Americans. You can't judge history by our current standards. Yeah. Because what about the Democrats? The Democrat Party, make no mistake about it, the Confederacy was the Democrat Party. Yeah. The North was the Republican Party. So if you want to blame anybody, blame the Democrats. Yeah. And tear down Democrat statues or get rid of stop voting.
Yeah,
it's so
Democrat, number one.
It's so sad because there's so much education, and it's this. you know, it is, it's true. It's this indoctrination that's happened over years and years and years while we all had, I guess, our heads in the sand.
Yeah.
But the education on that particular statue, you know, Frederick Douglass read the dedication to that statue in DC, and I spent a I don't know, a couple days ago, I actually read Frederick Douglass's dedication to that statue of Abe Lincoln, and it takes a while. It's a good half hour, 45-minute read. And you know, Frederick Douglass did not see eye to eye with Lincoln. You know, Lincoln wanted to get all the slaves and go ahead, and he thought it would be great to ship them all back to Africa at one point. You know, there was a lot of things.
Cancel Lincoln.
Frederick Douglass knew that Lincoln had two jobs on his hands. The first and foremost was to keep this union together, and second was to abolish slavery. And if he didn't keep the country together, it wouldn't matter if he abolished slavery or not. So he had to keep the country together. And Frederick Douglass, in this dedication, he even addresses the statue, because the statue, he said, it, even when it was unveiled at that time, having the black man kind of kneeling down at Lincoln was a little bit offensive even then. However, he's standing up, he's breaking the chains. And so it's just a matter of education on what that means. And I think everybody needs to read what Frederick Douglass said. The very last paragraph, I'm going to paraphrase, but he just says, you know what? Look at this statue, and if anybody over the course of time ever questions our gratitude to this president, just have them look at this statue.
So let me,
and that's pretty powerful.
Another comment. Somebody, by the way, thank you to Sir Barton, who donated an M-Job. M-Job brings up a good point here. So Jeffrey Curley's killer, the boy who was raped and murdered in 1997. You're both familiar with this story, right? So the guy who did it somehow had a parole hearing today. The Georgia police officer is defending himself and facing the death penalty. And here we have in Massachusetts a man who raped and murdered a 10-year-old boy 23 years later now has a chance to get out. Is this insane?
It's disgusting.
I'm almost surprised that it's been 23 years. It seems like so many of our judges, especially here in Massachusetts, they've been letting them out even sooner than that. There's no checks and balances on a lot of these systems, and especially when it comes to children and pedophiles and rapists. It's horrific.
Because they talk about criminal justice reform, and it's like they always say, you know, our jails are overcrowded. I think it's the opposite. It's like the fact that this guy's up for parole. It's like, no, we're doing the.
I think that when you talk about him, I think there is an opportunity for some of this criminal justice reform when you talk about that case.
Yeah.
Compared to somebody with 3 strikes and you're out, and they had 2 ounces of marijuana on them.
That really happened though. I mean, that's what they always bring up. It's like
it does happen.
They put this in our heads that there's the jails are full of potheads who got caught with an ounce of weed. I'm not convinced that's the reality.
That is something that Trump finally is getting through. You know, he's finally a president that's looking at that and actually making progress with that. And that's exactly what they want. And that's exactly what POTUS is working to get. And, we have, 2.5 million people in jail. Yeah. And even if you don't want to look at it in any other way, but financially, that's at like about $100,000 each. Of our taxpayer dollars to take care of each one of them. So I think it would behoove us to comb through it and look at, why are they in jail? Is this something that, we can clean up? Because that is pretty excessive.
Another question that people want to know is, what do you guys think, starting with John Paul, what do you think of that Missouri couple that's been all over the news that came out with the AR-15 and the girl gun there and defended
the girl gun?
Yeah.
If anybody, if people did the same thing at my house, you might see something very similar.
You have an AR-15?
No, not an AR, but I do.
Okay.
I do.
You have an AR-15?
I do.
Get out of here. I thought they were illegal.
I can go looking for it. I got a pre-ban. So as long as you get them before, I think it's 1996.
Really? So you don't, okay. You are a firm Second Amendment girl.
I am. most definitely.
Okay.
And I think that couple nailed it on the head. I think people are getting on her though because of her trigger. Their training is a big deal.
Before, like the way they were holding it.
Yeah, the way she was holding it, and she actually had her finger on the trigger. Stuff like that matters. If you're going to be a gun holder, you need to be responsible with it. And there is a lot of training involved. And I think one of the things that came out is that those people are Democrats. They're full-fledged Democrats, which, what speaks volumes, because our Second Amendment is for everybody. It's not a partisan issue. It's a civil rights issue, and so they issued their civil rights. What's terrible though is now the media and their city are coming after them.
They are. They're investigating them, and so if you haven't seen, she is pointing the gun at them. The trigger is on it. I believe I don't think you're supposed to do that, right?
No. You're not supposed to have your finger on the trigger unless you're going.
Yeah, her finger should be off the trigger, and every state is different. You can't even do this in Massachusetts. If you're outside in Massachusetts, you're supposed to just run away. You can only defend yourself inside your house if the person is going to cause you direct harm.
Never do that.
But they are within the laws of their state. They are perfectly legal, and you know what? Compare this picture compared to the Catholic priest who was standing there holding hands, and he comes up and gets a big old, knuckle sandwich. So unfortunately, if you're going to defund the police, you're going to see more pictures like this.
That's literally what the caption is that I put. You want to fund the police, you got this is what the fund the police looks like. It's like the people in the suburbs with the guns are going to come out in their lawn and they're going to say, "Not on my watch."
Right. And it worked. And they were up on their property. If you watch the video, and you know what? They had people push them back, and it kept them off their property. So you got to do it.
The media spun it way out because they were saying they were pointing at black people. They were actually white. They broke down the fence. They were threatening them. So, I mean, they had every right to defend themselves. I agree. She should not have been pointing the gun at people with their finger on the trigger. You don't do that. But in principle, going out to defend yourself the way they were after being threatened and their gate being knocked down and private property, I mean, the left is just out of control. Once again, they want no police, but then you're not supposed to protect yourselves either.
Yeah.
It's just if we can get people, my feeling, Aidan, is if we can get people, just Republicans, to stand up much more bold, loud, and proud. I know it sounds a little bit like gay pride, right? But I mean conservative. like last year, conservative. If we can just stand up for American values and not be afraid of these people, we will win. But if we cower to them and they keep pushing us around, there's no way we win. And so again, we're either the land of the brave or the land of the afraid.
What I want to know about
the brave side, let's just see more brave action by the people that we elect to Congress and government to stand up to these thugs, because that's all they are thugs. The left has been bred with radical Marxist thugs, and I can't believe we're even talking about this right now. I can't believe this is reality.
I know this is pretty sad that it's come to this. Now, to me, the most underrated part about this image, in my opinion, is the fact that this is how he dresses inside the house. That's wild. I mean, I'm wearing elastic. I don't wear pants that don't have an elastic. Inside the house, you won't catch me with pants that don't have elastic.
Did you see the inside of the house?
I mean, it looks like a freaking the Vanderbilt
palace.
Yeah. I thought it was a museum at first. It's like where they freaking live. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just like this is how they dress around the house. Like this is how he lounges with the belt on. That's bad. He should be arrested for that. If anything, that should be illegal. But any other questions that you guys have for them? People, neither of Tracy's run before. John Paul, you never run for office before, correct?
I've run a lot of races, but on the track.
Yeah. So okay, but this is your first attempt.
My first attempt to be a citizen, doing what I believe the framers had intended. You work on your business. You step aside to actually serve the people for a period of time. I'm all for term limits, 100%. I don't want to be in government forever. I'm doing this for the right reasons, I believe, not because I want to be a politician, because that still kind of skeeves me out. The thought of me being a politician, when you think of what image comes to mind, I want to be serving the people as an actual, like the framers wanted us to do. And so.
Okay. So here's another question people want. How do you feel about So as a guy, as a person with controversial opinions who's constantly censored in various ways due to the fact that my opinions are not always welcomed by everybody, how do you feel about free speech in general? I'm sure you guys are both free speech proponents. However, how do you deal with like tech companies how do you balance the fact that if you want to tell tech companies that they can't kick people like me off their platform, isn't that government intrusion into a private business? But at the same time, you want people like me to be able to talk. Where do you stand on that issue, Tracy?
You know what? I think what Trump came out with, I think same thing. A lot of people had to dig into that executive order, but people don't realize is that the federal government helps protect social media platforms. So they protect social media platforms much the same as the police are protected, in that if somebody goes and because of cyberbullying, somebody commits suicide, their parents or that family can't go and sue Facebook for that. And that's because of the government stepping in to provide them that protection.
It's called this Communications Decency Act. Section 230 gives platform immunity from legislating, correct, from lawsuits.
The only reason why our government and us, we the people, should allow that is if those platforms agree to be open to everybody. And so then you have the open communication, you're supporting the First Amendment, and everything's working well. But if they're reneging on their deal and they are throttling back information and censoring, then we need to pull out of those protections. And I thought that was a good
Senator Hawley from Missouri, who will be president someday, freaking love that guy. He wants to end qualify Section 230, basically repeal it. So would you guys be in favor of that?
I would hope it wouldn't come down to that. I would hope that just the threat of that would help keep things open. But if it continued the way it is right now, most definitely, because that's our tax dollars going to help these guys out. And no, we shouldn't do that.
If we ended Section 230, Twitter and Facebook would shut down tomorrow. Because they couldn't take that risk that they could get sued every 5 seconds.
Like I said, I would hope the risk would be enough to get them to stop and play nice.
So okay. People want to know if you can show us the gun. How do you feel about that?
It's I could show you the case.
Yes, I'd like to see the case. That'd be cool.
So while Tracy's getting the case, I'm with you on that. I don't believe they don't have any right to this immunity from Section 230 because they've shown they're absolutely partisan. They're editing. I mean, TV channels and other traditional media don't have that protection. I don't think
look at that thing.
Facebooks and Twitter should have that protection.
And it's locked in the case, so I'm all legal.
A responsible gun owner. So one of my biggest problems here at Turtle Boys, I get sued all the time. And basically, I'm being sued by one guy right now. He's 3 people, 3 pro se morons. It costs them absolutely nothing because they're idiots and they just do it for fun and they file stupid lawsuits. And by law in Massachusetts, I have to retain counsel because I had an LLC. And it's like one lawsuit itself was $25,000 last year. It's going to get dismissed. They all get dismissed. I always win because they're frivolous. Is there anything you could do? I'm not sure how much you've looked into this issue, but it is a problem for people like me and small business owners. Like the Boston Globe doesn't care about that because they have a legal team. It's just an expense for them. They could just go and fight it off. A small business owner like me can get driven out of business by that. What could be done to protect people like me?
I need to look more into it. I don't know enough about that. Aidan, I know for me and my small business, again, I'm in healthcare, so I just have a bazillion different insurances for everything. And I don't think that's afforded to your industry. But you know, I'm not an advocate for insurance, obviously, but I'm just saying it's different for me as a small business owner. So I'm not familiar with your line of work enough.
Yeah, there's like Mike Gaffney. Do you remember Mike Gaffney?
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, Mike Gaffney and I used to be political buddies. He was almost elected mayor of Worcester somehow, even though he's a Trump guy. And he went a little off the deep end. And I did not endorse him for office in 2017. So he sued me for that. He literally sued me because I didn't endorse him, and he says I cost him the election. It was a ridiculous lawsuit. Luckily, I had a lawyer that did it pro se for me. Had that not happened, like they just drowned you in discovery and all this crap, and it's like $25,000, $30,000. It would be easily. So I know it's not a common thing, and it's not something that other people can relate to, but might be something politicians want to look at down the line as tort reform. I don't know.
I
definitely.
I believe that there should be there should be triple damages. They should, when it's frivolous, when it's clearly frivolous, like every case that you're facing, I'm sure, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
I believe they should pay the legal fees and then pay you some kind of major penalty, like triple damages.
It's funny because I completely agree with that.
That's what I
great idea. Actually, yes, I'd love to get paid for these lawsuits. That'd be freaking awesome. It would obviously, I guess the argument against
that.
You
make money on it, then you cover your bills and you make 3 times more.
Yeah, I guess the argument against that is that it would deter people who have like legitimate grievances from coming forward because they'd be afraid.
It's got to be clearly frivolous,
right?
Like you didn't endorse somebody. I mean, that's crazy land.
Literally, yeah. I have a woman in Rhode Island right now suing me because literally in the lawsuit, it said I hurt her feelings. And it was written that she hired a state rep, a Democratic state rep to sue me. And luckily the ACLU read about it and they picked up my case. The most liberal institution in the country is defending me of all people in Rhode Island right now. But they are, got to give it to the ACLU. They are, they're a radical left-wing organization, but they do believe in free speech and civil liberties.
I think that's what's happening, right? It's been happening more and more over the last few years, but that's got to be one of the most pressing issues of right now. People getting offended and getting fired. How many people are we seeing from Facebook posts that are getting fired left and right just for opinions that don't match the norm? It's absolute insanity, And honestly, Aidan, this is one. You're controversial. It's not maybe the best PR always to be on your show, but quite frankly, I think it's absolutely imperative right now to be on your show and to promote you because you are free speech. And you know what? You don't always have to agree with what you say or how you say it. And that's okay. It's okay for us to be different. And that's why I'm excited to be here with you tonight. That's why I do pay attention. That's why I have my turtle sweatshirt in the back. And I think, like I said, I don't always agree with you and I don't always watch you. And sometimes when I do, I kind of cringe a little bit.
My mom says the same thing.
But that's a celebration of what our country is. And that's what we have to keep.
Wow, that people love you now after that comment. That's great. Because people did ask before, are you guys turtle riders? And you are. John Paul, do you read Turtle Boy?
I do. I honestly work so much doing this crazy campaign that people say, do you watch this show? Do you watch that show? I'm like, 5 minutes at a time when I can because I'm that busy. But yes, I'm and I most especially I love your fight for free speech because it's not called the First Amendment for nothing. It's the first most important. And the left, it's still a shocker that they ACLU because they don't always stand up for free speech. But I'm glad they're doing it for you now.
I got lucky because it was Rhode Island. I think it's a small state and they don't have as many cases they can pick from. I don't think it would happen in Massachusetts, to be honest. So luckily it was Rhode Island.
Oh, God.
Did you guys hear about the 70-year-old? I guess he's like a baseball commentator, 70 years old out on the West Coast.
Basketball.
Had a Twitter account and tweeted out that all lives matter, and he got fired.
Yeah, he's the Sacramento Kings play-by-play guy, and he was asked.
70 years old.
And he said all lives matter. He wasn't up to date on the correct if you're not online and you're not in like the Twitter world, you don't know that that's a no-no. It shouldn't be a no-no. But it is.
That's just it. Nothing should be a no-no. And you read this and they're like, you just need to be educated. Like these re-education camps. It's absolute insanity right now that opinions don't matter. Opinions do matter so much. I think it's just crazy and it's scary that so many people are supporting this right now. It's I don't know what to expect. Like I said, the next 4 months we're in for a ride because this election season is nowhere near over.
Yeah, we just need something's got to change, or else
we need to really come out and just be much more forceful about our message. I just think
How
we
do-
have to.
how do you get the message out there in the age of COVID?
I'm sorry.
How do you get the message out there with John Paul in the age of COVID?
There's a big event. You're allowed to do political events because if they're allowed to have Black Lives Matter terrorists knock down stores, and I will call them terrorists because not Black Lives. I'll say this.
I know what you mean. I know
Black
what you
Lives
mean.
Matter, blah blah blah. But the organization is basically a cop killing terrorist organization, and we should be able to point that out without being afraid. And now the LGBTQ crowd, which I've always been kind of lukewarm to because of their philosophy. Now they went full on, Rhode Island Pride. Now they ban any police and any police insignia. And now that the gay movement has gone lockstep with Black Lives Matter, all police are evil, and it's just gone, they're full on Marxist. So I can't be part of that anymore. I call it NTL, non-traditional lifestyle, because the LGBTQ with 15 other acronyms is just, you get your special identity, victim identity code, and you have to become a Marxist, leftist, America-hating, cop-hating, crazy person. And so I came up with my own acronym for LGBTQ. I don't know. This will get me a lot of trouble. Maybe I shouldn't say it.
ELP 1 2 3. That's what we use.
I use leftist, bigoted, godless, totalitarian quacks.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm gonna get in trouble with that one, but that's only the crazy ones, not the normal sane ones, the non-traditional lifestyle.
This is I don't know if you saw this. So people ask about. I mean, people are asking questions that I kind of already know what you're going to say. Like if I ask you what you think of Gavin Newsom, I can kind of project what you'll say about that, or Rachel Rollins. But it inspired me. I don't know if you saw this. Last week I did a story on a woman. She's a Black Lives Matter activist and works sucks up the prisoners and stuff like that. Her name's Rachel Corrie. She campaigned for Rachel Rollins, who's obviously a radical leftist out of Suffolk County.
Nut job, yeah.
And so this woman went to a police officer's house in Newton, took a picture of the house, posted it on Twitter, and he was the highest paid Boston police officer, and said, this is where the highest paid Boston cop lives, listed his address and all this stuff, put a picture of it, and I exposed her. I put it out there, and I just got this in my email today. And this is what makes me happy about the effect, the Turtle Boy effect, and why I think it's important. This is an official letter that Rachel Rollins sent out today that was forwarded to me, directed towards this woman, Miss Corrie. Said, I recently became aware that you posted online the address of a member of law enforcement and you encouraged the public to show up at his home. I want to make it clear in no uncertain terms that what you did was unacceptable.
Wow.
I mean, riding the turtle now.
Nice.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. That communist?
Yeah.
That? I mean, she hates the police.
Good.
I mean, but you know what? It's just people talk about the little turtle boy, you just do ratchet shaming and all this stuff. It's like, no. You don't understand. The Rachel Rollins, obviously this blog ended up on her desk somehow because nobody else reported on this, obviously.
Wow.
And I did, and she saw it. And I made sure to point out in there that this woman works for Rachel Rollins, and Rachel Rollins, as radical as she is, she's not going to endorse going to cops' homes and telling mobs to go there. So,
I think what you just discovered too, Aidan, and this is a message that I try to say every chance I get, is look what you just did. You just found something that we can agree on.
yes, that's true.
You just found something that Turtle Boy and Rachel Rollins can agree on. Yes. And if you two can agree on that, my God, can you imagine what we could get done as a country if we could just find what we agree on, which is at least 70% of the issues out there. Okay. And that's what we need to get back to. This crazy extremism, it's been happening more and more and more, but it needs to end. And I think that's what we have an opportunity right now to do. And I hope we take it.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So
I agree, Tracy. 100%.
Yeah. Well, I thank you guys both for coming on. We're going to call it a night in a minute. But I thank you guys both for coming on. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
And
thanks for having me. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure now. Cause like you said, this is, I don't know, I'd like maybe Howie Carr should have you guys on. Jeff Cooner should have you on. There should be more of the conservative media in this state promoting conservative candidates, in my opinion.
There should be a lot more of a lot of things.
Yes.
In my opinion.
And it's just, I was on Newsmax this morning, though. At least, that was good.
How can we watch? Is that online? I wasn't able to.
Go to Newsmax TV. It's in 70 million households actually around the country. Ooh. So I was on for like a hot 6 minutes talking about the coronavirus.
Yeah.
But they want me back on talking about other things soon. And but we need to get a lot more press because we are up against the media that's very, very leftist compliant. And
Tracy, by the way, is a physical therapist in Grafton, and I would assume COVID made that extremely difficult. Are you back in business yet, Tracy?
Not yet. I'm scheduled to open back up July 13th. And that's more because of the fear of COVID and whatnot. I could have been open, I believe, the end of May. But it's just people haven't been coming in, so I just kind of waited. Plus, doctors weren't doing surgeries. They weren't doing elective surgeries for knees and hips and that kind of stuff. So that's all gradually ramping back up. So hopefully, 2 weeks I'll be back.
That was the worst part about this lockdown, and I'm still mad about it. As a guy who exercises a lot, like I'm a runner by nature. I love running, but my body, I'm 38, is breaking down, and I have a bad freaking Achilles. So running is not always an option for me because I'm in pain a lot. So I got to go to the gym and go on the elliptical, but whatever, it's better than getting fat. I gained like a good 10, 15 pounds during this quarantine.
I gained like 30. Look at these teeth.
And ironically, one of the things that COVID preys on is obesity and general unhealthiness. So it seems like the exact opposite. We were never told. Dr. Fauci told us what not to do. But
they never told us what to do.
Exactly. Like go outside and walk 2 miles, go out, eat this, eat that. That was never brought up. There was always
prevention was never an issue. And what's so bad is the virus doesn't kill us. It's not the virus. It's our reaction to the virus that kills us. So we need to be able to fortify ourselves to fight it off. And you're right, that's never been mentioned by any of our elected officials, none of the doctors on TV. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's not been the prime focus. What do you eat? Your diet, your exercise, your nutrition, getting out in the sunshine. There's a lot that can be proactively done. But instead, they said just sit inside and watch TV and sit and do Zoom meetings.
And they arrested guys out surfing in California with 0.0000% chance of getting it.
I know.
I think we're going to find out. Like I've got a science background, and I jokingly say I kind of developed the optics for a space telescope. So I say you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand a lot of the things they're telling us to do. I have no science backing whatsoever. Like, show me the science that keeping small businesses closed forever and putting them out of business helps, but leaving big box stores open doesn't. It's just all the rules. I think we're going to find out. My guess is after the election, it's all about getting to the election. And after that, they're going to analyze this and say a lot of mistakes were made, but it was all about politics. A lot of it was about politics.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not a coincidence that Trump had great poll numbers before this happened, and now they're in the toilet. I don't think that is a coincidence. I think that was by design. And I think magically on November 4th, the epidemic will end, in my opinion. And we'll be all,
and so might America if we don't.
Yes. How can people donate to you? People want to know, both of you guys, how can people donate to your campaigns? Because I'm sure you need money.
Go ahead, John.
JohnPaulMoran.com. We need money. We need volunteers. We need all the media we can get. So anybody that can help us, JohnPaulMoran.com. There's a big button that says donate, big button that says volunteer.
Excellent. And you're on Facebook. Let me see if I can I'll share the links to you guys' Facebook pages.
Send and packing.
Yeah. And Tracy, how about yourself?
Tracy for Congress.com. Tracy Lovvorn for Congress on Facebook. Tracy4MA2 on Twitter. And same thing, there's a little donate button. There's a place to sign up to help us with volunteering and just getting involved. My main platform right now is social media. So, I'm kind of this Facebook warrior.
You have 22,000 Facebook likes?
What?
Yes.
I know, I'm on fire.
How the hell did you get 22,000 Facebook likes?
It was a lot of work. But and look, I have two pages. So I have my Tracy Lovvorn page and I have my Tracy Lovvorn for Congress page. And then I need more help on Twitter. So if anybody's on Twitter, if you could go on Twitter and follow. And then we just started on Parler. So we're infant over there. I'm still trying to figure out how that works.
I just got on Parler myself. It just seems like a red version of Twitter. except
Yeah.
there's no leftists to go at it with. They'll come over soon once they start getting banned. But yeah. So thank you guys once again. So people are asking if you just joined now. So this is Tracy Lovvorn. She's running for the Congressional District 2nd seat in Massachusetts against Jim McGovern. And John Paul Moran is running against Seth Moulton in the 6th Congressional seat, basically the North Shore. So that's Central Mass and the North Shore and a little Western Mass. But yeah. So I thank you guys once again for coming on.
Thank you for keeping it clean.
Yes, it's rare.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for featuring Tracy and I. I know we're going to do it together. And by the way, there's 6 of us running, 5 women and me. So not one straight white male amongst us.
Yes, not one straight
for running for Congress here in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
But Aidan, thank you again. You're great. Again, your fight for free speech is absolutely essential. So keep it going.
Thank you guys for coming on. Appreciate it.
You.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right. So that was a cool show. It's different. I mean, a little politics. I know it's not the usual ratchet stuff you guys are used to, but that was good. They were good guests. They're cool people, you know. It's good to get to know them. And I really appreciate the fact that they came on here because especially what, you know, Tracy said there at the end, that meant a lot to me. I'm not going to lie. That meant a lot to me. Just that it's not a bad thing to be associated with Turtle Boy. Yeah, I say football a lot and I say potty words, etc. But it's a big platform. It's got a lot of people, a lot of good people that listen to it, and they vote and they're interested and they're politically active. And you know, the things that I'm fighting for are things that people on the right and the left should both appreciate: free speech, common sense. I mean, me and my girl Rachel Rollins, we agree it's bad to stalk police officers. Not good. So if you guys don't have any more questions for me personally, we'll call it a night. But if you have any more questions, let me just once again thank Nick Schramm. Says hashtag turn up for Tracy. It's pretty badass. 7 Pounder says the New England Patriots signed Cam Newton so they could not be bitched at for not signing Colin Kaepernick. Brilliant. Actually agree. I don't agree with that at all. I think they signed Cam Newton because he's a former MVP. He's 31 years old. He's 6'5" with a rocket arm, a former #1 pick, and the Patriots can still be competitive this year with him. And he's obviously a much better solution than Jarrett Stidham, who I highly doubt is ready for prime time. If that was the plan, then we were giving up. Steve Cody says, great show so far. I've learned a lot more before by listening to Tracy and John Paul. Definitely entertaining and informative, standing up for liberty, common sense and truth. They definitely have my support. Much appreciated of the show. Great questions. Great job running it. You know what? I agree with all those things, Steve. Appreciate that. All right. Anything else, guys, before we call it a night? I'm not going to swear blindicated. No, don't worry about that. Yeah, I saw Brian Riccio's in here, but not only that, people saying, imagine hating someone so much, but listening to all their live streams. First of all, Brian, if you really want to hate people and watch them all the time, why don't you just apply to work at Media Matters? That's literally their entire business model, is watching Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh podcasts and then tweeting out about how racist they are. You could do that too. Why don't you do that, Brian? Why don't you just start your own company called the Anti-Turtle, whatever? Just do it out there. It might be good business for you. You never know. People listen to Turtle Boy. They might hate you, but they're still going to go to you. That's what your brother might do. Somebody who's actually, you know, entrepreneurial and successful and, you know, bright, but you're not going to do that. You're just going to keep coming here every day, Brian, because you are my slave. I own you, Brian. You go where I tell you to do. You're going to come here tomorrow. You're going to come here the next day. I own you. Just understand that, son. And the funny part is, I believe we blocked you, so you might have created a different account to come back on here. Whatever. I don't care. I enjoy it. I block you on Twitter because you're fucking annoying. But on YouTube, I don't mind because everybody else just roasts you for me. Again, Riccio does not represent Medford, as M. Job says. Absolutely. All right. Anything else you guys want to ask me? Who did not smile tonight? This was a great show. Appreciate that. I had a good time. It's definitely different. Definitely different. Even Alina's on here. She's becoming a regular. She's our new Amanda Sawyer. Brazilian Amanda Sawyer. What happened to the Saugus Walmart fight? Oh, by the way, that chick was arrested today, and I've gotten they're so mad about that. That blog blew up. We're going to talk about that on the live show this weekend. They're so mad about that. So, Alina put on quite the show the other night. She was like mad about it, that I shared a blog about it. But like, Alina, you have to understand, if you come on the live show and you tell me to fillet you, then probably going to write a blog about that, just to let you know. Like, that's what I do. It's good content. It's funny. So she knows that. She does cocaine. We found that out the hard way. Papito, who was arrested, the woman who beat the shit out of that girl in the Walmart with the phone, was they either put a warrant out for her arrest or they arrested her. Yeah, once again, I'm going away next week, so I won't be on air. But I'll definitely, the 4th of July, hopefully we'll have a going away. My family's all coming in, so we're going to, I'm the oldest of 7 kids, and all of us are going to New Hampshire because my dad's turning 70 on Thursday. So we are all going up, and we got a couple Airbnbs up there, Lake Winnipesaukee, and most don't live around here. My siblings, like 2 of my brothers, live in Pittsburgh. So it's hard to get the whole family together like that. So I'm not going to work or whatever that week. They're getting here like Saturday. They want me to go over there for dinner Saturday night. So I'm going to try to get back here for the live show. It might be like delayed till like 9:30. I'll let you know. But if something really blog worthy happens during the week, I'm probably going to write about it. Like it's going to be really hard for me to resist not writing blogs. Like, let's be honest. But you know, for the rest of the week, I'm going to have reruns. I'm going to have a lot of your classic Turtle Boy blogs. I'm just going to republish them on TB Daily News and Turtleboy Sports. And I'll just be probably republishing about 3 or 4 a day. I'll have them all done prior to that. I'll just keep hitting the publish button when I'm gone. And yeah, so that'll be that. So the next show's Thursday and then Saturday. But the Saturday one might be delayed to like 9:30. I'll let you know. Anything else, you guys? Don't write about me anymore. Well, don't be blog worthy anymore. Keep your crotch fruit in line. No more burning police cars. Okay. The New Bedford Bukkake pound cake. Yeah, she was a real gem. I'll have to reshare that one. All right, guys. So if we don't have any more questions, I guess we will call it a night. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you to everybody who donated. I really appreciate that. And we will see you all on Thursday for the next episode of Turtle Boy Live. All right. Peace, Turtle Riders.